and go with the home team at Mississippi Farm Bureau. Teddy, is this like Christmas Eve for you tonight with Super Regionals starting tomorrow?
It's a very exciting time, no doubt about that, to get to this weekend. It's a great weekend. You know, regionals are so frenetic. This one, you can kind of focus in on things more. So I love this weekend, absolutely.
I will say, Teddy, I found myself more engaged across the country last week than I remember being, because I feel like the drama was so high at so many different venues, and it was kind of spread out across the place, whether you're talking about Stanford or Corvallis, or you were talking about Coral Gables or Hattiesburg, or, you know, kind of anywhere in between.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. You know, Friday was pretty chalky and a little boring as a result, but that set up a great weekend. And I mean, there was all kinds of drama, really, you know, and it didn't stop. You know, Monday was so busy, and you know, you had Stanford going down to the end. So I think that was part of what made it great, is that you had like 3 straight days of very high drama baseball.
Tell me, Teddy, what you think is perhaps the most intriguing super regional. When you look at the 8 sites and you kind of look at the matchups and you think about what's at stake, which one kind of grabs you the most? And you're like, and I want to, if it weren't your job, I want to be sure I see every pitch that I can that's thrown in that super regional.
Well, I mean, it's hard to look away from Tennessee and Notre Dame in that regard. I think that's a really intriguing one. I mean, you have Tennessee, this potentially all-time great team, looking to get to Omaha, and in Notre Dame, you have a team that took Mississippi State to the brink last year in Starkville. So you feel like they're going to be capable, they're going to be ready for that in Knoxville. So that one definitely jumps out. I mean,
let me interrupt just for a second. Teddy, if that's the first one you go to, that says to me that you believe Notre Dame's got more than a puncher's chance.
I think they have a chance for sure, absolutely. I mean, like, here's the thing. The last 2 number 1 overall seeds were UCLA and Arkansas. And anything you're going to say about Tennessee this year, you could have said about either one of those teams. They both faltered at super regionals. Yeah. And they faltered to teams that we didn't think were going to be presenting them huge problems. Nobody really knew what NC State was coming out of regionals last year. It was like, well, they were a good team. They were a good team in the ACC. And Michigan coming out of the UCLA Super Regional, nobody saw that coming. And yet they did. And so here we have a really, really, really good team in Tennessee. But we also have a team in Notre Dame that feels like they should have hosted, probably should have hosted, and made really, you know, they played really well in a not super easy regional last weekend. So, yeah, I think they have a chance. I think they're in some ways uniquely capable of taking on this challenge. We'll see. I mean, maybe they'll get steamrolled. That's entirely possible as well. But the other thing about that is that, you know, you can't look away from Tennessee. You know, you have no idea what's going to happen in any given game. You could have a guy throwing 104. You know, that's fairly regular there. You could have a guy flipping off the center fielder. Like, so much is on the table anytime the balls take the field.
Where were you going to go after Knoxville? I interrupted you.
Well, I think the scene in Hattiesburg is going to be really fun. I mean, it was a fun scene last weekend, and I had somebody, I expressed that opinion to somebody earlier in the week, and they were like, well, how much better is it really going to be? And look, it was great last weekend, but I think this weekend could be a really fun one as well. I mean, you have a team in Southern Miss hosting a super regional for the first time. You have a really hot team at Ole Miss. You have an in-state super regional. I think that one's got a lot of energy around it. And I mean, on the field, I think you also have to look at Oklahoma and Virginia Tech. And Arkansas and North Carolina. Those two feel like close to toss-ups, but you know, I love the energy that I expect in Hattiesburg this weekend.
Teddy, I keep looking at all 8 of these, and I've kind of, you know, I'm intrigued with how hot Oklahoma is. I will readily admit I am discounting Virginia Tech because they haven't been there before, and it kind of feels like they've come out of nowhere. I feel like most people are going, well, Oregon State's going to take care of Auburn, but I love the way Auburn's playing right now. But I keep going to College Station and knowing what it's going to look like, knowing that the first game is a night game, and knowing that Louisville probably shouldn't still be playing if not for the benefit of replay, and yet they are. And Louisville is a team that when they have gotten to super regionals, they've gotten to Omaha.
Yeah, that's a very intriguing one because you're right. They have this history of winning super regionals. They are not going to be satisfied just having gone to super regionals. Like they're not going to sit around and say, "Well, we didn't make the tournament last year, and now here we are in super regionals. Isn't that great?" Like that's not that program's expectation. And in A&M, you have a weirdly experienced team. There are some guys on the team that have postseason experience. The coaching
just not
staff
at
obviously
A&M.
is super experienced. But they don't. They also have, yeah, you're right, not at A&M, and a lot of them just don't have that experience at all. So how is that going to play? Also, it's going to be crazy hot this weekend. I don't know what that's going to mean, but they're playing a day game in game 2, and it's going to be like 100 degrees out. I'm sure the ball is going to be flying there, but there's an awful lot going on this weekend in College Station.
Teddy, I feel like there's a lot of similarity to what the atmosphere is going to look and feel like in Hattiesburg with Greenville, North Carolina. Clark LeClaire Stadium is a hard place to play. It's loud. I was blown away with how loud, like continuously loud, East Carolina's ballpark was last weekend. And now you add into the fact that maybe the biggest brand in all of college sports, the Texas Longhorns, are rolling into town.
Yes, they did not need any excuse to get up, but they're going to be up for the Horns, and it's such a unique place. They have some elements that other places have. Like there are a lot of fans in the outfield, and like obviously there are a lot of places that have that. But it's Greenville, North Carolina. East Carolina really doesn't have a whole lot else going on in terms of athletics. If you look at like the full breadth of their program there, like baseball is what they do, and those fans love it. They know it. They really understand baseball, and they've got the megaphones in left field, and it's just it's a jungle. Like that's what they call the outfield. The whole thing is a jungle, and yeah, you put the very combustible idea of Texas and horns down into that, and I'm going to be very interested to see it. Now, I don't think Texas is going to be bothered. This is a team that plays in Lubbock every other year, that goes to A&M, that plays in Stillwater and all the rest of it. But I think that the people of Greenville are absolutely going to be fired up and doing everything they can to help the Pirates over the line to make Omaha for the first time.
All right, Teddy, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. I'm just going to make you give me, and this is not like, this can be etched in sand. It doesn't have to be engraved in stone. But give me a gut feeling winner on each regional this weekend. Tennessee, Notre Dame. And tell me how many games.
Well, that one's got to go 3, and I wish I had the guts to say Notre Dame, but I think it looks similar to last year in Starkville, that Notre Dame pushes but isn't quite able to get over the hump.
Can UConn take Stanford to 3 games?
They could. It would not stun me, but I do kind of sense a Stanford sweep here.
All right. East Carolina, Texas.
Give me Texas in 2.
Ooh, really? More heartbreaking.
Yeah, I just think that they've got so much more than what ECU has been playing the last month.
Carolina and Arkansas in Chapel Hill.
Oh, boy. 3 games. By the way,
is that going to be a wine and cheese crowd, or are they going to be into it?
I mean, why not both? It's not going to be like
enough
it is
wine.
Arkansas,
okay.
I think for UNC fans, they'll be up. I'll go UNC in 3.
A&M in Louisville.
A&M, they can't all be sweeps, or they can't all be 3 games. So let's say 2.
Southern Miss and Ole Miss in Hattiesburg.
Ole Miss in 3.
That's a really intriguing pick to me. We've talked so much about this, and it feels like there's a pretty significant pitching advantage for Southern Miss if it gets to a 3rd game.
There is. I definitely can see that. I also think, though, that Ole Miss pitched relatively well over the weekend. I like their bats. If depending on how the first 2 games break, if they can save some bullpen arms for game 3, that pitching advantage definitely gets lessened. I don't know what to expect this weekend, though. Like that one could go any number of ways. I just do kind of like the way Ole Miss is playing right now, and that's kind of where that pick is coming from, more than well, if they get to game 3, this will be how it plays out. It's more that team feels like they're hot and they know it and they're playing really well right now.
All right, last two. We got less than 30 seconds left. Virginia Tech, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma 3.
Oregon State, Auburn. Pick Auburn.
I would love to. I'll say Oregon State and not feel amazing about it.
Teddy, thanks so much for your time. Great stuff today.